senior political analyst Marwan Bishara, who's been watching these extraordinary events unfolding as the day has gone on. And Marwan, so on the one side we have instructions for no celebrations, and on the other we have a show of strength and posturing from Hamas.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it, Nick? I mean, it's like it's an emotional roller coaster everywhere you go, and it's anger or celebration, joy or depression, and clearly a lot of tears of joy of those who are reunited with their families, whether they are on the Israeli side and certainly the many, many on the Palestinian side. But aside from just the spontaneous public outpour of emotions for those, for the loved ones, there's also a bit of a implicit strategy here on the part of Israelis and Hamas in terms of their ongoing psychological warfare. Hamas is trying to project an image of unity, of confidence, of fearlessness, of organization, and clearly trying to rub Netanyahu's nose in the dirt and humiliate the Israeli military, saying, you've tried for 15 months to beat us, you've tried for 15 months to release the prisoners by force, and you failed. And for the Israelis, it's the same thing, more or less. They're trying to say, look, we had to do what we had to do to recuperate our captives, but this is definitely no reason to celebrate, even if it means that it is about Palestinian prisoners squatting to kiss the feet of their mothers that they haven't seen for so long.
I suppose some might say or might wonder whether or not it's prudent for Hamas and Islamic Jihad to put on that show of power, in the sense that it will fuel antagonism within the more extreme side of those in Israel, and the possibility of some kind of response.
Oh, absolutely. I think Hamas is taking a risk by doing that, because it considers it part and parcel, meaning the psychological warfare of its overall struggle for liberation and resistance and against occupation and what have you. And that doesn't stop, right? It's certainly not the psychological part, and certainly not the part when it's telling Israel you didn't win, because you cannot win when I'm not defeated, right? And to be honest, there is a bit of a wonder about it all, Nick, right? I mean, the fact that they seem to emerge from the ashes, from the debris, from the destruction. Right. And the way they released that captive from the debris of Jabalia, Jabalia that was pummeled like there's no tomorrow for 15 months, and yet they were able to do that. But yes, I take your point. This could be risky, and this could actually eventually, sort of entice the Israelis to do something, certainly the fascists in the Netanyahu government. But that also does something else, if I may. It could alienate a segment of the Palestinian society that is saying, stop with the celebration, stop with the theatrics. We are really suffering here. Let's just try and deal with our wounds and our destroyed homes and mourn our dead, instead of just this continued theatrics of a psychological warfare.
So, Marwan, here we are on, day 12 of the ceasefire. On day 16, negotiations for phase 2 begin. How at this stage, what's your assessment, how at this stage do you think we're set on this long road towards potential peace?
Well, my understanding is that this has already started, not necessarily officially, and clearly with all the diplomatic activity, with the special envoy of the Trump administration, Mr. Witkoff, in the region, and even going into Gaza, albeit clandestinely, with the Israeli military, but clearly, in Jerusalem and in Doha and the rest of it, there's certainly a certain preparation, if you will, for that. And my understanding is that Trump has instructed Netanyahu to get with the program, that Washington is interested in turning Biden's war into Trump's peace, as it were, even if it is at the expense of the Palestinian, or I should say, especially that it will be at the expense of the Palestinians, in the sense that Trump is telling Netanyahu, or Netanyahu is telling Trump, I'll accept the extension of the ceasefire, I'll accept phase 2 and phase 3 if I am rewarded for something in the West Bank. Because as you and I spoke over the past many months, Gaza might be the strategic liability for Israel, might be the strategic challenge for Israel, but the strategic reward remains confiscations of or in the West Bank. That's what Netanyahu government is interested in. It doesn't care if Gaza is amputated and thrown into the sea. What it cares about is controlling the West Bank. And if you remember, back in 2016, 2020, it was Trump that recognized Israel's annexation of Jerusalem and Israel's annexation of the Golan Heights, both of them illegal, both of them against international law, and yet it was done as if it was de facto. And Netanyahu is hoping that this would be repeated again. One last thing, if I may, I think also Netanyahu doesn't have much of a choice. Look, I mean, the man has proved to be a liability for Israel in terms of what happened October 7, in terms of his corruption charges, in terms of being pursued by the International Criminal Court, in terms of being a jaded, long-term serving prime minister. So I think his career is hanging, on nothing, actually, to be honest with you, just on the sense of momentum. And Trump could end it in a minute.
Indeed. All right, Marwan, we'll leave it there for the moment. To speak to you a bit later in the programme. I think leave it there for the now. Thanks very much, Marwan Bishara here in Doha.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.